Welcome back, everyone. Today's deep dive is going to be fascinating. We're going to look at the life of Suhaib ibn Sinan al-Rumi.
An early convert to Islam.
You got it.
Uh-huh.
Our source material for this is a lecture about him, and just looking it over,
Yeah.
it's incredible. This guy's story is captivating.
It really is.
Persia,
Rome.
Mecca, he got around.
He did.
But what we're really going to try to uncover today is what makes Suhaib's story so unique,
Right.
even amongst the first Muslims,
Yes.
and why it still resonates with us today.
Well, and you're right about the geography.
Right.
His story does span some impressive places even before Islam enters the picture.
It's true.
What I find really interesting is that he wasn't just born in one place and stayed there.
Right.
Suhaib was an Arab, yes, but born in Persia
Okay.
and then raised under his father's governorship in a Persian city.
Wow.
And yet, according to descriptions, he looked Roman.
Really?
I mean, talk about a blend of cultures.
That's what struck me, too. Like, reading through the material about his upbringing, it's like it almost sets the stage for all the connections that he'll make later in life.
Don't you think?
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
But before we get there, I have to ask about that dramatic turn his life took when he was only 5 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Kidnapped by Roman soldiers while he's out with his mother,
Oh, gosh.
separated from his parents,
Yeah.
and then 2 decades
Wow.
as a slave. That's
That's a long time
a long time.
to be separated,
And to have that happen so young,
especially so young.
that has to have deeply impacted him.
Absolutely. To experience that kind of loss and upheaval at such a young age.
Yeah.
To go from a life of, relative privilege to the brutal reality of slavery.
Right.
It really speaks to a profound resilience within him.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. It makes you wonder how those experiences might have shaped his worldview,
Yeah.
made him more open to new ideas, new ways of life,
I see.
maybe even paved the way for his eventual acceptance of Islam.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
It's like the ground was almost prepared for something new to take root.
Right.
But let's talk about his escape to Mecca
Okay.
and his success as a trader.
Yeah.
He becomes wealthy, but without tribal protection,
Right.
which had to make him a target. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This vulnerability, I think, is crucial to understanding his conversion.
I see.
Here he is in Mecca, this bustling center of trade
Uh-huh.
with wealth,
Right.
but lacking the social security that tribal ties provided.
Yeah.
He had something to lose, but in a way also left to lose
Oh.
than others who were more, firmly embedded within the existing power structures.
Right.
It's fascinating, isn't
It
it?
really is. And he converts early on.
He does.
Like, even before many of the Meccans themselves. And
Uh-huh.
he even goes through persecution
Right.
alongside other early converts like Bilal,
Yes.
Ammar, and Khabbab.
Given the risks involved,
Right.
especially for someone in his position, this decision to convert speaks volumes about his conviction.
It does.
This isn't a choice made lightly.
No.
Remember, he had been exposed to so many diverse faiths and practices
Right.
throughout his life.
Right. From when he was a child.
Exactly. So, something about the prophet's message must have truly resonated with him.
Yeah.
On a profound level.
On a deep level.
Yeah.
Then, of course, comes the Hijra.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, his escape from the Quraysh is like a thriller.
It is a bit.
He uses his archery skills to hold them off.
Wow.
He basically tells them he'll take them all down before they can catch him.
He's not messing around.
No, he's not.
Yeah, it's a testament to his courage for sure.
Yeah.
But for me, what I think is truly remarkable
Okay.
is his willingness to sacrifice all his wealth
Everything.
to reach Medina and the Prophet.
Oh, wow.
This is everything he'd built up over years of trading.
Yeah.
And he gives it up
Without a second thought.
without a second thought. Some scholars connect this event to a specific Quranic verse about those who leave behind everything for their faith.
Wow.
Yeah.
To give up everything once as a child
Yeah.
and then willingly do it again for your beliefs.
It's powerful.
That's powerful. But I do wonder, after such an ordeal,
Yeah.
what was it like for him when he finally reached Medina?
You can imagine arriving after that perilous journey, having sacrificed so much,
Right.
and being greeted by the Prophet himself.
Yeah.
There's actually a beautiful narration where the Prophet, upon seeing a Suhaib, exclaims,
Yeah.
What a profitable transaction, O Abu Yahya.
Wow.
It demonstrates the deep respect and validation
That he received.
that he received.
Yeah.
You know, this wasn't just about joining a community.
Yeah.
It was about finding a place where his sacrifices were recognized.
And valued.
Yes.
Wow. And I think this all happened before the major battles
Right.
and the expansion of the Muslim community.
So much of his story unfolds in those early years.
It does in those really formative years.
It does, exactly. And it's not just the grand events, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's also the smaller moments, too, that reveal so much about who he was.
Oh, like what?
Like that anecdote about him arriving in Medina,
Okay.
hungry and weak.
Oh, right.
And Umar is expressing concern about his eating habits.
Oh, right. Where Suhaib jokes back
Yes.
and says he's trying to catch up on all the dates he missed.
Exactly. That story reveals a lot, don't you think?
It does.
It shows his humor, you know, his
Yeah.
quick wit.
Right.
But it also hints at this close bond with Umar,
Okay.
which, on the surface,
Yeah.
seems like an unlikely pairing.
It kind of does.
We have Umar, the once staunch opponent of Islam,
Right.
and Suhaib, this foreign-born former slave,
Right.
and yet they find this connection a brotherhood in
Huh.
their shared faith. It makes you question, you know, was this purely faith bridging divides, or if something else was at play as well?
That's a really good point. It wasn't just this shared belief system.
Right.
There was genuine fondness between them. And speaking of brotherhood, Suhaib fought in every battle alongside the Prophet, right?
That's right, he did.
What does that tell us about his commitment to this new community?
I think it underscores this theme of brotherhood transcending differences,
Okay.
which was so central to the early Muslim community.
Yeah.
You know, they were attempting to build a society rooted in shared values and beliefs,
Right.
striving to overcome the tribal and social divisions of pre-Islamic Arabia.
Okay.
But was it really that simple?
What do you mean?
Well, there's that comment
Which one?
made to Abu Sufyan about the swords of Allah not reaching their enemies.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's a jarring comment, especially in light of everything we've learned about their close-knit community.
It is.
If they were supposed to be so egalitarian, why would this comment even exist?
Yeah.
It seems to contradict this whole idea of brotherhood overcoming all these differences,
It certainly complicates things, while there was a remarkable degree of unity.
especially compared to pre-Islamic Arabia.
Yes, but tensions and prejudices didn't simply vanish overnight.
That's true.
It really highlights the fact that building a truly inclusive society
Yeah.
is a continuous process, even when united by faith.
Right.
It's a journey
Of what?
of constantly striving for greater understanding and empathy,
Okay.
confronting, you know, those lingering prejudices wherever they may exist.
So it's not just a one-time achievement.
Yeah,
It's ongoing.
it is.
And perhaps we can see this journey reflected in Suhaib and Umar's relationship.
Oh,
So there's a story where Umar playfully points out Suhaib's flaws,
Uh-huh.
you know, using a kunya without having a son named Yahya,
Right.
calling himself an Arab despite his upbringing,
Yes.
and spending lavishly on food.
Right. And before we go any further, I think it's important to explain what a kunya is for our listeners.
Good idea.
It's a kind of honorific title in Arab culture,
Okay.
often using abu or meaning father of or mother of,
Okay.
followed by a name.
Got it. Back to the story.
Okay. What's so fascinating is how Suhaib responds to each of these flaws.
Okay.
He explains that the Prophet himself gave him the kunya,
Oh, wow.
acknowledges his Arab lineage through his tribe,
Uh-huh.
and points to the hadith encouraging generosity and feeding others.
Oh, I see.
I think these responses reveal a lot about Suhaib's character.
They do. He's witty,
Yes.
clearly devout,
Yeah,
and seems to be genuinely loved by those around him,
he does.
even when they're teasing him.
It seems like it.
But I think the most telling example of Suhaib standing in the community
Okay.
is what happens after Umar's assassination.
Oh, yes. This is a pivotal moment.
It is?
We have to remember the context here.
Okay.
The Shuha, a council formed to choose the next caliph, is in the process of deliberating.
Oh.
And during this sensitive time, Umar, in his final act as caliph, appoints Suhaib to lead the prayers in Medina.
Really?
Yes, and what's remarkable is that Suhaib wasn't Arab by birth
Right.
and had a foreign accent. That choice speaks volumes about Suhaib's integrity and the trust that he had earned.
It's a huge honor, especially considering the historical context.
It is.
But to step back for a second, can you explain the Shura process a bit more for our listeners?
Sure.
What exactly was this council?
Okay, so the Shura, in simple terms,
Yeah.
was a council of senior companions tasked with choosing the next caliph.
Okay.
This process wasn't outlined in detail during the prophet's lifetime,
I see.
so there was some ambiguity and debate surrounding it.
Okay.
This makes Umar's decision to appoint Suhaib even more significant.
Right.
It demonstrates that despite the potential sensitivities and uncertainty around leadership,
Yeah.
Suhaib was seen as a unifying figure, someone trusted and respected enough to hold this pivotal position.
That's incredible. But let's not forget the personal aspect of this moment.
Right.
Suhaib's reaction to Umar's death is heartbreaking.
It is.
He cries out, "Oh, my brother," as Umar is passing.
Yeah.
And then he's given the honor of placing Umar's body in the grave, next to the Prophet and Abu Bakr.
Right.
These aren't just political actions.
No.
They're filled with raw emotion.
They are, and they speak to this profound bond that had formed between them, a connection forged in shared faith and the challenges they faced together.
Together.
Yeah, and I think it really speaks volumes about the strength of the bonds created within that early Muslim community.
So after this incredibly emotional and pivotal period, things start to shift dramatically for Suhaib.
They do.
As political turmoil grips the community, he makes a surprising choice.
What's that?
He withdraws from it all,
Really?
choosing a simpler life away from the conflict.
This is where his story takes a really interesting turn.
It does.
Instead of pursuing power or influence,
Yeah.
he steps back.
He does.
Why?
Huh.
Was it disillusionment with the escalating political climate?
Maybe.
A desire for a more peaceful existence?
Possibly.
Or was it something else entirely?
Yeah.
It leaves us with so many questions
It does.
about his inner thoughts and motivations.
Yeah. It's almost like he'd seen enough,
Yeah.
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 of the complexities and compromises that power often demands.
Right.
Maybe after witnessing the turmoil firsthand, he longed for that simpler faith that he found in those early days.
Perhaps it really highlights that tension
Yeah.
between faith and politics,
Right.
a theme that resonates throughout history.
It's true.
It seems Suhaib, in his own way, was wrestling with this.
With this tension.
Yes, ultimately choosing a path that prioritized his personal connection with his faith over worldly matters.
Yeah.
It's a choice that invites us to consider
Right.
how we navigate those same tensions in our own lives.
And while he withdrew from politics,
Yeah.
he didn't withdraw from the community altogether.
No, he didn't.
Two hadiths he narrated
Okay.
really stand out to me.
Yeah.
One emphasizes that a true believer finds good in all circumstances,
Right.
while the other describes the ultimate reward in paradise as gazing upon God.
Oh, wow.
It feels deeply personal.
And that personal connection is what makes these hadiths so powerful.
Uh-huh.
I mean, out of all the sayings and teachings he could have transmitted,
Right.
these are the ones attributed to him.
Right.
It makes you pause and consider,
Yeah.
here's a man who'd experienced unimaginable hardship,
Yeah.
loss, enslavement, persecution.
Yeah.
Yet he clings to this belief that there's always good to be found, even in the darkest of times.
And that the ultimate reward isn't worldly power or possessions,
Right.
but a spiritual connection
Exactly.
with the divine.
He didn't simply preach these ideas.
Right.
He embodied them.
Yeah.
His life becomes this powerful example
Yeah.
of how faith can sustain us through adversity,
Sure.
guiding us towards a higher purpose.
It makes you think about all those early Muslims who endured so much in those early days.
They did.
Their stories aren't just about dates and conquests. They're
Yeah.
about human resilience
Yeah.
and the power of belief
Yeah.
to shape lives.
And they offer us a glimpse into the challenges and triumphs of building a new society.
Founded on faith.
Yes, remember, this was a time of immense social change.
It was.
They were breaking down old tribal structures
Yeah.
and creating something entirely new based on shared values and a common purpose.
But that doesn't mean it was easy.
No, it wasn't. And earlier you talked about those lingering prejudices,
Right.
even within the community.
Even within the community.
It makes you realize that building a just and inclusive society
Yeah.
isn't a one-time achievement. It's an
Right.
ongoing process
is.
of confronting biases both within ourselves and in the world around us.
Absolutely. And Suhaib's story,
Yeah,
despite the challenges he faced,
right.
offers a message of hope.
It does.
He shows us that it's possible to find connection and belonging,
Uh-huh.
even amidst all those complexities.
Yes, his friendship with Umar,
Right.
his unwavering faith,
Yeah.
his dedication to the community,
Right.
they all point towards this vision of unity.
That transcends those differences.
Exactly.
It's a vision that feels incredibly relevant today,
It does.
wouldn't you say?
I would.
In a world that often feels increasingly divided.
Right.
Suhaib's story reminds us that we're not so different after all.
Yeah.
We all share that same desire for connection,
Yeah.
for meaning, for a sense of belonging.
And his journey reminds us
Okay.
that faith, when lived authentically, can be a powerful force for bridging those divides,
Wow.
for building a world where those shared values of compassion and understanding can flourish.
What I find so captivating about Suhaib's story
Yeah.
is that he started with so much wealth status
Yeah.
and ended up embracing this life of simplicity and faith.
Right.
It makes me think about my own priorities,
Yeah. Yeah.
about what truly matters in the grand scheme of things.
That's a profound point. Suhaib's life was marked by both material abundance
Right.
and profound loss.
He experienced it all.
He experienced the highs and lows of worldly success and ultimately found solace in something deeper.
Right.
Something that transcended the material world.
Yeah.
It prompts us to consider what we truly value and where we find our own sense of purpose.
So as we delve deeper into Suhaib's life,
Yeah.
I'm struck by his adaptability, his resilience,
Yeah.
his willingness to sacrifice, and his unwavering faith.
Right.
It's almost as if each chapter of his story
Yeah.
reveals a new facet of his character,
Right.
a new lesson for us to learn.
And it's those lessons, I believe, that make Suhaib's story so enduring.
They do.
He wasn't a prophet or a ruler,
Right.
but an ordinary man
Yeah.
who lived an extraordinary life.
Uh-huh.
And in his story, we find echoes of our own struggles, our own aspirations, and our own search for meaning in a complex world.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
How he navigated all those twists and turns of fate,
Right.
always managing to find his footing,
Yeah.
even when everything around him was in chaos.
That's the beauty of studying these early converts, isn't it? They weren't superhuman.
Right.
They were real people
Yeah.
facing very real challenges.
Exactly.
And yet they managed to not only survive,
Right.
but thrive,
Yeah.
driven by this deep conviction in their faith and a desire to build something better.
Thinking about Suhaib's journey,
Yeah.
I'm particularly drawn to that period after Umar's death.
Okay.
He was offered a position of power,
Right.
but instead he stepped back,
He did.
choosing a simpler path.
A simpler path.
Do you think that was a difficult choice for him?
It's hard to say for certain what was going through his mind.
Right.
But I think it speaks volumes about his character.
In what way?
Well, he wasn't driven by ambition or a thirst for power. His priorities seemed to be living a life that aligned with his values.
Right.
A life centered around faith and service to the community.
Perhaps that's why those two hadiths he narrated
Yeah.
resonate so deeply.
Right.
The one about finding good in all circumstances, and the other about the ultimate reward being to gaze upon God.
They're beautiful.
They are.
They seem to encapsulate his entire approach to life, don't they?
They do. It's like they're not just words.
Right.
They're reflections of a life
Yes.
lived in accordance with those principles.
Exactly. Suhaib experienced the full spectrum of human experience,
I know.
from privilege to poverty, from freedom to enslavement,
Right.
from loss to profound connection.
Yeah.
And through it all, he held on to this unwavering belief in a higher purpose.
It makes you wonder what he would say to us today,
I know.
looking back on his life.
What would he want us to take away from his experiences?
Exactly. Perhaps he'd remind us that true wealth isn't measured in possessions,
Yeah.
but in the strength of our faith and the depth of our connections with others.
Right.
He might urge us to look beyond those superficial differences
Yes.
that divide us
Yeah.
and focus on those shared values that unite us.
And to find that good,
Yeah.
even in the midst of hardship.
Right. To remember that even when things are difficult,
Yes.
there's always hope,
There is.
always a reason to keep going.
His story is a testament to that, isn't it?
That is.
To the human capacity for resilience,
Ah,
for finding meaning and purpose,
yeah.
even when faced with unimaginable challenges.
And it reminds us that faith, when lived authentically,
Right.
can be a source of incredible strength and solace,
It can.
guiding us through those dark times and inspiring us to build a better world.
A better world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive
Yeah.
into the extraordinary life of Suhaib ibn Sinan al-Rumi,
It's been a journey.
it has. I'm left with this sense of awe and inspiration.
I understand that.
His story has taken us across continents,
It has.
through triumphs and tragedies,
Yeah.
and ultimately to a deeper understanding of what it means to live a life of faith, resilience, and unwavering devotion
Yes.
to something larger than ourselves.
It's been a privilege to explore this journey with you. And I hope it inspires our listeners to delve deeper into the lives of these early Muslims.
Thank you.
Their stories are filled with rich insights and timeless wisdom
They are.
that can guide us on our own paths,
Wait.
reminding us that even amidst the complexities of life,
Yeah.
there's always hope, always connection, and always a reason to believe.
In something greater than ourselves.
In ourselves.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning.
Keep seeking.
And keep seeking those stories that illuminate the human experience.
Absolutely.